And now, a movie review from Man.
So, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, a movie that we've been known about for a very long time. We saw the first trailer a year ago and somehow managed to keep the hype going for such a long time, and we finally have it here. And now the big question is, does it live up to the hype? Of frigging course it lives up to the hype. Like, there was no real question, honestly. Well, there was a little question considering it's from Sony, but still, it lives up to the hype. It's just great. It's downright just almost perfect of a film. It's almost perfect of a Spider-Man movie, honestly. Everything, like, this is just a movie that does everything to just be so great on all levels. Like, if you weren't really much of a fan of Spider-Man, you'll love it just as great as a movie. If you're a fan of Spider-Man, you'll love it even more for all the stuff they put in here. All the small little details that happen in it. It's just amazing. It's just downright great. It's pure fun. The characters are very engaging, and you manage to keep up with everything, even though they do toss a lot of stuff. Like, there's so much stuff they put in this film, but it feels tightly knit. Like, they knew we have so much to do with this film, but we definitely gotta keep it focused. So that's just something that's so amazing about this film, is that it managed to keep everything just tightly knit. It just kept everything just kept it tight. It's just a very tight film, and you gotta give props to it. And the biggest aspect, obviously, for this film was its animation style. It's something so unique and different. It's very reminiscent of actual comic books. Like the way they have the detailing on the characters is so amazing. Like, the characters do have the little dots that you would see on, like, normal comic books and, like, the comic panels and such. It's just so... It just looks so much like, it feels like a moving comic book, not like those simple motion comic books with limited motion and stuff. No, I mean, it feels like a comic book. They took a comic book and animated it exactly how you could imagine the characters moving, basically. And that's just something that you gotta give props to Sony on. This was something so different from them. You wouldn't expect Sony, of all places. These are the people who made the freaking Emoji movie, and yet it turned out such a great product. Miles, he's great. You really do feel for him. You really find yourself wrapped up in his story, and that's another thing. You would think they wouldn't be able to balance it properly. You would think, okay, all these characters like Peter Parker, Spider-Man, Spider-Gwen, Peter Porker, Penny Parker, and the Spider-Noir. It's like, okay, that's so many characters. How are they going to balance it? They balance it just right, and they still make sure it's about Miles. They make sure he's not overshadowed. It's his coming of age story, and they do it just perfectly. It's executed so perfectly. The character arcs is something that you really enjoy. Every character practically goes through some type of arc in this movie, and you somehow keep up with all of it. It somehow works, even though you have so many characters. You just really feel for everything. The story is basically just simply, Kingpin has this plan to use a super collider, and Miles ends up finding out, and Miles has a means to stop the collider from being destroyed. And Kingpin finds out about this and wants to have Miles killed so he can, make sure Miles doesn't thwart his plans. And then with the super collider, it ends up bringing over spider people from all different universes into Miles' universe. And now it becomes a race to stop Kingpin from using the super collider to basically end up destroying the city. It's pretty simple of a story, and that's honestly very good. That was something they needed to do. They were not going to get by on just a super complex story, especially with all these great complex characters. That's something that works very well with this. Simple story, complex characters. That's always a great combination. And here it's like I said, it's executed very well. It's a very fun and engaging film. And And here's the thing, when you get to Peter Parker, when we see Peter Parker, it's not the young Peter Parker we're used to, like from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films or the Mark Webb Spider-Man films either. It's a full-blown grown adult Peter Parker who's been through some shit. This is the depressing like, he's depressing. I won't say too much, but a lot of the stuff that's happened to him is like all the stuff that you've seen happen to Spider-Man over the years. And this is basically the weight of all that just hitting him. He's just at his lowest. And you just, like, if you're a major Spider-Man fan, you're going to look at that and think, yeah, that's how Peter would be, because all that stuff he's gone through, yeah, that makes perfect sense that he's this beaten. Like, you totally understand it. And all the other characters are so great. You're gonna love Gwen Stacy. You're gonna love Penny Parker. Like, you're just gonna love her. She's just cute. She's too cute. Spider Noir, played by Nicolas freaking Cage. That was ideal casting. Like, I don't care what anyone says. That was just perfect. That was perfect to witness. That was just so fun. Just seeing him and his mannerisms. It just fit so well. Like, holy crap, Nicolas Cage needs to be voicing some more characters. After this, I want to see him. I want to hear him voice some more characters. Like, he was too good in that role. And then there's Peter Parker. Oh my God, he had to probably be one of the funniest things in this whole film. Honestly, everyone is pretty funny, but Peter Parker is definitely the one who has a lot, who kind of steals the show when it comes to comedy. He's just so funny. Like, a lot, like, he's very much based in a cartoony nature. Like, he comes from a more cartoony based world, and he just brings that element over to Miles, and it's just a laugh riot. Honestly, and that's another unique thing about this. All the characters come from the different dimensions, and they're all in these different unique art styles, more or less. They all look like they don't inhabit this same space, or they're clearly not from this same space, but they still feel like they blend within the space. That's something I really enjoyed the most, that unique sense of detailing. I really enjoyed that. How they managed to make all these characters look different, feel different even, but somehow they still feel like they need to be here. Like, or somehow they feel like they should be here. Like, they don't feel out of place. It's not like an uncanny valley or anything like that. Well, of course, it's not uncanny valley, but it's just something that I really appreciated about the detailing of this animation. It's just outright amazing animation. It's something we haven't really seen before. And that's one of the big things that we did like. That's one of the big things that we were really rooting for with this movie, is that it's something so unique, so different, that we haven't seen anything like this. It doesn't look like Pixar. It doesn't look like Illumination. It doesn't look like Fox Animation. It looks like something that only this movie was probably going to pull off. I honestly want to see this animation style again. Like, it looks so good. Like, it just felt like a real moving comic book, like an animated comic book. And that's just not so, like, we've seen that sort of imitated with live action superhero movies, like the 2000s Hulk movie tried to do that, and but we've had, say, something more recent, like when Avengers Infinity War, where the way the movie was shot made it seem like comic book panels. Now, more or less, like, if you took these shots and then you put them in a comic book, it would feel like it fits just right. Like, this feels like it's shot like it would belong in a comic book, but it's not, of course, animated like it's in a comic book or so. This movie is like, it's shot like it belongs in a comic book, and it also feels like it would be in a comic book. That's something that is just so great about this film. Now, in terms of, say, fans of Spider-Man, there's everything for you. There's so many callbacks to, say, the Sam Raimi films, to, say, the old OG, like, 60s Spider-Mans, 90s Spider-Man shows. Like, and they just have, it's like a love letter, honestly. It's a pure love letter to Spider-Man fans. Like, if you ask me, honestly, I would have to say this is the best Spider-Man movie of all time, right? Or at least of right now. It's better than the Raimi films. It's better than the Mark Webb films. It's better than Spider-Man Homecoming. Like I really liked Spider-Man Homecoming, but this one it resonated very well. Like, it felt like it felt like it was made by people who were very passionate about Spider-Man and just truly wanted to show how passionate they are. And I gotta give them the kudos for it. Like, the small details they would have sprinkled throughout the whole movie was just very nice. You notice these things, like you notice certain suits are in the film that you would think, oh wow, I know that suit, I know this, I know that. Like certain things that happen, you just feel like, yeah, that, like, you just feel so happy. You're like, hey, I know that. You just point out all these nice Easter eggs, and I just love it for that. And if you had to force me to point out any negatives, I really can't think of too many. If anything, they would be small nitpicks. Like, maybe, like, in one shot they had, say, the characters were swinging on their webs, but in the background you didn't see really any buildings. It's like, okay, how are you swinging there? That's a little bit weird. Like, maybe you could have animated some background buildings. But like I said, that's just a nitpick. In terms of the villain, it's Kingpin, and of course he's not as complex as, say, Daredevil's Kingpin, but he's still pretty good. I mean, the way Daredevil's Kingpin is, it's one of those, he wouldn't work in a PG setting. This one's more downplayed. He still has a bit of complexity, but it's just not as good as, say, the Daredevil Kingpin. He's still pretty good, though. Like, he feels intimidating, but the thing about it is he has a weird design. I mean, to me, I kept kind of laughing at him more, so that might be a bit of a negative on the film, because the way he's designed, like, his head is so hunched over, he doesn't have a neck, and it's like his head is in his chest, if anything. And I'm just like, okay, that's their design, and whatever. That I'm honestly rolling with it. He looks built like a frickin' refrigerator. But whatever. That's how he's designed. Fine. I'm not gonna get mad at that. Still, this is such a great film. If you're gonna ask, do I recommend it? Hell yes. Go see this. It's a great film. It's something good. It works on both angles. If you're not really much of a comic book fan, but you like movies, you'll love it. You'll love it it's a really good movie. And if you are a Spider-Man fan, you will very much love it. Like, it fires on all angles. It just gives us everything we want. It has great amounts of fan service, pretty much. This is just a great, tightly made film, and I can't recommend it enough. So I say definitely go see this one. But that's just a thought.